Good evening. Good evening. This is Spirit Journey. It is February 22nd, 2019. It's after 10 p.m. I'm just relaxing. I'm just really going over my week, the things I did today. I see that life is very interesting. I'm I would say that I'm thinking the last thing I'm thinking about really, this YouTuber, his comments about that guy who was it, Ju- Jesse. He plays in the movie, in the TV show Empire, and I did a video about him. You know, the guy on that TV series. He was arrested, but either way, yeah, he was arrested. I think today. But this YouTuber who was making mention of him, he got me thinking. He did a video and he announces that racism is dead in America. And then he explained his statement. In short, he was saying that you have people, for whatever reason, they want to create a scenario. Now, if, according to him, that if racism was as prominent as they want it to be, I mean, as they say it is, then how can you have a growing number of people who are making up lies, who fabricate stories? And I understood his point. If racism, sexism, etc., is all that bad, then how come people are making up stories? So I thought it was very interesting. It was very stressful listening to it. I couldn't stop listening to it, to the topic about that guy from that television show Empire. I've never seen the show, nor do I have any interest in watching the show. So what is life really about? After watching so much stories about that man, I started watching it yesterday, the whole day, and even today. But I'm thinking, what if there was no such thing as racism or sexism? What would we do with our life? Yes, good morning, viewer. Good evening. Good evening. This is Spirit Journey. Yes, you're welcome to say hello in the chat. I'm just relaxing here before I retire for the evening. Just want to get out my last thoughts. what is life really about? We all, each individual has their own challenges. We may be rich, we may be poor. Some of us are from large families. Some of us have, you might be an only child. And then some of us, yes, hello, viewer. Yes, hello. You are invited to say hello in the chat if you like, so I can say hello back. So either way, you have people who are born in all these different circumstances. Some people are born healthy. Some people are born sick. Some people are born in the US, and some people are born in Nigeria. All these different scenarios. And with these changes, with these environments, come different experiences. Some people go to college, and some people, they have a sixth grade education and that's it. And because of all those different variables, we'll all have different experiences and outlooks. Some of us go outside, we go to the park. And sometimes you meet some really interesting people. And sometimes you may not meet anyone at all. This affects your experiences. All these variables affect your outlook on life, your mood, all these things. And then I'm reminded today when I did that virtual reality game earlier today. Yeah, I tried a different game. And it was really interesting. It could look so real. And it's not real. I'm not there. Some of these games can be so engaging. And I start to think with this virtual reality games, how it really seems parallel to the life that we call 3D. We go around, we have interactions, and then some of those things out there interacts with us. But when I was doing the VR game today that I uploaded, I saw some very beautiful land, giant hills and rock formations, animals like giraffes and elephants and lions. Really interesting. But it's not real. But it's still engaging. And then I thought to myself that are these virtual reality games, are they really similar to life itself. Like, let me explain. Now, as I was doing the virtual reality game, it was a nature scene. I like nature. And I said to myself, I'm having, a nice stroll along the water, seeing animals. But I started to feel um, a little bored. Now, Nishana, I love beautiful scenery, but where does it lead to? I mean, you have people out there like billionaires, and they spend all types of money so they could buy the house next door because they don't want neighbors. I think that guy, Job, I think his name is Steve Jobs of Apple. He passed away a couple of years ago. He would spend any amount of money so he can buy the property of the houses around his home so he doesn't have to deal with neighbors. People like that, maybe instead of trying to buy someone's home, get a virtual reality game and you just zone out and you don't really have to engage with anybody. But being the only player in a game can be interesting for a short while. But I think human beings are meant to engage with things. See, we're inquisitive. We need stimulation. We need that component where not only that we want to explore, but we really do have inner desires for it or they to explore us. Yes, because we're living souls. And that contrast that other souls that have their will is important to us. Now, as I was playing the game today, the VR game, virtual reality, I started thinking about my friend who passed away, I think it was 4 weeks today. She was relatively young. She was 61 years old. And I start to wonder, where is she? I mean, yes, I know she was cremated. But that living part, see, I believe we have that other part that lives on when our body is gone. And I start to wonder, what is she doing? Is she walking around a virtual reality like experience? Is she alone? Or is she with people? What is she talking about? What is she experiencing? And that's what I was thinking as I started playing the VR game. It's really interesting. I feel like life is starting to show me different understandings of things or impressions. Now, I was so caught up as a child and even an adult about my experiences. I was very stressed out, fearful, and but not understanding what life is all about. I thought life was everything outside of myself and that I had no control. But now I'm thinking that life is a virtual reality game. It can only do so much to you. Like, what do I mean by that? Now, as I was playing the game, like the virtual reality game has borders. Like you could like see forever, but when you move the navigation stick forward, it can only go forward to a point and then it's a wall, even though it looks like you can continue going forward. See, the virtual reality game has its boundaries. You can't go beyond it. It makes you think that you could go beyond further, but no, you can't because it is an illusion. And so it'll allow you some sense of travel and then you get to a dead end. And so you kind of like kind of move in the opposite direction or along the wall. And I think life is like that. We can walk around, but ultimately you get to a wall and you can't go any further. You're stuck to a point. You can only go so far, and then you just have to like grope the walls, or even going up in space. I'm starting to think that maybe space too, you can go so far and then you hit a dead wall. I'm wondering whether this 3D physical world is it just a VR game? A very sophisticated one that you could have things interact with you. You can travel. And then you have the laws that govern the VR game. I wonder, I really wonder, what is it all about? It's a game. It's a real game. We go through things and we think it's so important. Certain relationships, we get bent out of shape. So and so leaves you, that happened, this happened. And we get so bent out of shape. I was getting bent out of shape this week with all the news and experiences that affected me this week, the past 7 days. It was very stressful. And part of me wants to keep a more streamlined life and maybe some things I should limit, put the brakes on. You cannot change others. You can't really do that. they too have a right of experiencing their world, good or bad. The real test is how you navigate yourself. Some people could live in modesty. You know, they don't really need much money. They don't really need a fancy home. They're about experiences. They're not so much about things. They're about experiences. And experiences really is what life is all about. If things were perfect like the VR game, after a while, you're going to be bored. Because I think what's that it might be designed in us for interaction, like a conflict. You know, I don't want to say the word conflict, but you could call it, okay, contrast. Our life is like a contrast. And this is what can motivate us. The things around us, the things we experience, affects our activity. Now, if everything was perfect, there may not be any drive to get up from bed, take care of responsibilities like you know, bathing, cooking your food, paying bills. These activities, or the money system, money is a big one. I think money is the currency, as I said, currency for exchange. You might think that those exchanges are external to you, but it's pretty much, dependent. You need, you're always going to need something from outside. And with that, it's a responsibility attached to it. All our lives, rich or poor, has something built in to it. A dependency, a codependency. We're codependent on each other. We may live in a big house, but you're going to need people to who could do repairs. They may not know how to do certain repairs. So, no person is an island unto themselves. Real life means interaction. So you wonder, well, this week, this guy named Juicy from the television series Empire, it was said that he did what he did, according to the police. He wasn't satisfied with the money he was making. And I think there was a fear that he'll be booted out after the season. He only had 2 more shows to do, and the season is finished. And so, if money wasn't an issue, can't he audition for other shows? But instead, he created such a elaborate scheme, if the allegations are true, according to the police, the Chicago police. You're going to give, your plan was to give $4,000 to these two young men with so many different holes of mess up. He really wasn't thinking too sharp. And so here he wanted to get some attention. Well, yes, he has attention, all right. He got the attention. And so he did it. He first made a letter. It was a letter that is to harass, to attack his race and homosexual status. But to do that, it cost him. For him to do that letter and leave the clues behind shows extreme carelessness on his part. Yes, hello, viewer. Good evening. And I also invite you to say hello in the chat if you like. So this individual is going to say he's not satisfied with his income and how doing what he did or allegedly did, how that is going to change his situation for the better. In fact, they are excluding him now for the remaining 2 shows that he was contracted to do. They threw him out. So isn't this something? He wasn't satisfied with his salary and showing contempt for his bosses. He loses the money that he was to, he gets fired from his job in essence. And rightly so. This is stressful. He just lost income. He still has to pay his rent, and he definitely have to pay for legal fees, right? He has to eat. And he's a social individual. He has to interact with others. But he created new enemies. And I don't think he really thought it out. People will be afraid possibly to associate with him because of his reputation now of being disingenuous. It's not the first time he was arrested. So what could make someone to do something to get you arrested and you know better? What makes us act the way we do? Why is it a growing number of people? Why is it a growing number of people who are so dissatisfied with their life, the money they make is enough money for a home, nice clothing, money if you need to go to the doctors, enough money for food, and then blow it all with foolishness. And so now you have to wonder how you're going to get your rent paid, your legal bills paid. How are you going to get it done? And now people may not want to associate with you anymore. So I'm sure it's going to affect his social life. You heard of the community that you're part of, the Black community. And then you may have also offended people in the homosexual community, right? You did something and you told both communities that you are a member of that it was fake. It put pressure on those demographics. It put unnecessary stress on the hearers of his story. It could have resulted in someone getting hurt. Yesterday, I saw the program on this woman by the name of Tawana Brawley. For those of you who don't know about her, in 1987, a young Black 16-year-old girl from upstate New York, she, for whatever reason, she spent time with her boyfriend, and she went to some place. She was away for 4 days, and she was afraid to go home that her mother was going to beat her. And she was found wrapped in some type of this thing, this covering, and on her body was feces with written epithets pertaining to her race. She was a Black lady, Black girl, a minor. Her clothes at one point, they burnt a hole in her crotch. But it turns out, with forensic evidence, that what was done to her was self-inflicted. And her life, she had to move. She went away for school. And she had to change her name because her name was so infamous. And why I mentioned her, I almost forgot. See, she accused white police officers of this wickedness of rape, gang rape. And I think that was the introduction of the minister by the name of Al Sharpton. He went with it. He was a mouthpiece for her. And other people, it was back then, I think Black Americans were more active socially about injustices, in my opinion. And it got out of hand. And she had accused this particular man, a police officer. And surprisingly, I forget the time frame, but it could have been within 2 weeks of being accused of gang rape. this man, white man, police officer, kills himself. And then it was another white cop who was falsely accused. And when they found out that Tawana Brawley, the physical evidence heavily suggested that it was self-inflicted. And I think there might have been a lawsuit against her. And no apology was given. She was embraced by the black community. And her actions resulted in the death through suicide an innocent man. And that's what could have happened in this story with the person from the television series Empire, right? Someone could have fears and to be accused. And it's like you're in the public arena and they panic because they couldn't take the pressure and commit suicide. Luckily, that didn't happen. So here you had straight black men, American men, who gave him the benefit of the doubt. You had whites and other people who gave him the benefit of the doubt. And then to learn of this hoax. And he asked someone to do a hoax with him, to pretend to be his aggressor. And they thought they got away with it. But it was so foolish. And they pretty much, by their action. Sorry about that. Yeah, I think it's still going. Sorry about that. Yeah, sometimes when you mention certain topics, the connection. Hey, hi, Kendrick. And Grace. Yeah, Crystal. Good to hear from you. Yes. Mm-hmm. Yes, so what's going on? How about this man had everything going for himself? And luckily no one was, someone could have gotten convicted. What do you call it? To, you know, someone else blamed for his behavior. Someone could have been falsely accused. They panic and they commit suicide. This is so serious. Also, the homosexual community was affected because it's putting unwanted attention on them. No one likes a liar. No one. And then for white people, the white people were blamed by him when he said that two white men roughed him up. And that wasn't the case. Two wrongs don't make a right. Let's say, you have whites who may have done harm to blacks. And to do that bad, you know, evil is evil, and innocent people were hurt. No one likes to be lied on. It's very serious. It could have really um, caused certain laws to be established, and I think that was also motivation. I Part of me feels that what he did might have been um, encouraged for him to do. And maybe they were relying on him to really mess up because it makes no sense to ask two individuals to do something illicit in nature and then pay them by a check. It doesn't make any sense. He's so lucky that no one died or someone being falsely arrested. Things like that it really could have gotten really hairy, this situation. It could have resulted in a riot, a race riot, and people just started killing each other. That could have happened. I feel that he needs to be punished for what he did. And again, you heard him say that he's looking for justice. Well, justice would, full justice in the matter would then require him to give restitution to those communities who were hurt in the matter. White people, homosexual community, and black people. All these different groups were affected in a negative way. And plus the law enforcement, that they had to spend extra time to do the investigation when they could have been working on a real case in Chicago. Chicago is plagued with violence. So again, it was just selfish of him to do what he did because you're dissatisfied because of the money. I think it was something more to the story. I think he may have done what he did because of some other agreement. He could have been encouraged to do what he did. I think as time goes on, I think the detectives are going to really put out their net to really spread it out and try to get some fish in the matter, to really find out was it more to the story than just him being dissatisfied with what he makes for a living, the money. I think he's only getting $1 or $2 million a year. How foolish. I don't want to believe that it was just that simple and that maybe he was encouraged to do it because again they're trying to pass the anti-lynching bill. But you know what, if these people in Congress or senators want to promote a bill, why don't they promote something that really be beneficial to people? Because it's not an epidemic of people being lynched. And those people who are found lynched, for whatever reason, the authorities say, oh, it's self-inflicted. Yeah. So who knows what's really real? So again, you have a growing number of people who are dissatisfied with their lives and who are making up stories. And it seems to me that within the black community, because that's what I'm a member of, that is a growing number of black people doing this, about saying things that aren't true. So here, he was saying that he was being beat up, and that wasn't the case. You have people who claim that they are a particular nationality or race, I should say ethnicity, and they're not. But they're going out their way to say that they are. You have people who want to change their gender. You even have people who are trying to pass as a particular race that they are not a member of, and go through elaborate schemes so that they be believed. I think it's people dissatisfied, the growing number of people in the black community, we're dissatisfied with our lives to such a degree that you don't want to look like what you look like, such as Michael Jackson. He did everything to look like something else rather than himself. Or people calling themselves Native American Indian, and they don't have any Native American Indian blood in them. It's just so much. You have people who say they are from a particular language grouping, and that's not true also. So it seems like black people are dissatisfied with themselves, dissatisfied with their money, and they're making up scenarios. You know what this all boils down to? It's a lack of self-love and worth. You despise yourself so much that you are saying, I'm not worthy, that they are not worthy of respect. And you shut out. You shut yourself out. You are worthy. And you can turn yourself around. You can turn this situation around by empowering yourself with what they say, the renewing of your mind. To set up new priorities. If you can't reach your old goals, make new goals. To say, okay, I'm going to throw that out. Put in some new goals or new activity in your life that you have, that you can control. Why be what you're not? You're wasting your dollars when you attempt to be something that you're not. And you'll benefit in all aspects when you accept the you in your life. I'm learning to accept myself. And I'm learning that life isn't all what I thought it was. People give other people more power and credit than they deserve. But we're so used to the made up stories that you just assume that everything that is being said is truth. And it may not be. Who you should believe and have truth and faith in is yourself. If you don't have it, try to pursue it. Try to tell yourself that you can do it, that you could overcome the stigma of racism, sexism, etc., by how you accept yourself. When someone sees that being called the N word or the B word and make it just go through one ear and out the other, they're not going to waste their time. But they use it because they get a rise from you. Don't give them your power. Learn to look in the mirror and enjoy the person you see in the mirror. Enjoy the you. Enjoy the you of what you do have. Celebrate yourself by a peaceful lifestyle, eating the right type of food. Surround yourself with people who are caring, or go to natural parks and go into nature. And ask the universe to heal your body, soul, and spirit, to learn to accept the real you. You'll benefit in the long run. You'll benefit from the trueness of life that is subjective. You are the creator of your life. We're not victims. Each white person you see, each black person, is in themselves their own agent. But we share experiences also. And we start to think that they are controlling our lives. I think we ultimately are responsible for what we experience because we are subjective. I'm not saying that other variables don't contribute, but I'm saying you are the one that has the perception through your senses. And learn how to navigate in this virtual reality game. And maybe we are really to just see this as a game. And when the game is over, maybe we really go to another dimension. I've heard of videos that discuss this. And when the person died, they did a past life regression. And when they transitioned, they immediately went to some location, and it's like the person was waiting for them, and they acted as if they just went around the corner and back. It's really something. And I wonder how true that phenomena is. Where are we going? after this. What is real reality? And what is the ultimate game of this virtual reality we are a member of? I think it's very profound. This is really, really, I never thought about things like this growing up. It's so different. The expansion of our minds. If when our minds are really that extended, we're not really stressing ourselves. We're exploring. We're not giving others so much power over us. And I see my growing up, I felt that others had the power over me. And that's what makes you feel really stressed. Accept the you, the person in the mirror. It's always going to be other chapters, one chapter after another. Maybe the goal now is to make requests. What type of experiences you want? Really? Is this all just a VR game? And we create scenarios. Because life will be really boring if it didn't have texture. But yes, sometimes some of us have too much texture and drama could incur. So that's all that I can think of right now regarding this week and the media. This is really a paradox shift. But I don't think this is the first time this paradigm shift. It's constantly re-rolling itself. And I do believe, based on my experiences, that this 3D world, there's another world beyond it. I was introduced to meditation about 4 or 5 years ago. And the things that you can see is really something. I don't know exactly how it works. We have all different people with, different explanations of what the phenomena is. It'll be really interesting what's really going on. I think even when we sleep, I really believe this. I believe when we sleep, a good night's sleep, that our thinking selves, our consciousness can travel. And we engage ourselves with things and possibly parallel universes. I shared my experiences regarding the parallel universe. At one time, like last year, I was seeing, it was a home, it was somebody's home. It was a big, it looked like a millionaire's house. And I think I dreamt of, had the vision, it was actually a vision, more than once. And I was as if looking through the eyes of the person who is at that other dimension. This never happened before. So because of that, I'm believing that there are other dimensions, or somehow our mind could tap into things. And there is some engagement. So even though it was as if I could see through the eyes of that other person, but I also felt that person was me, and that I was using this. Um, I think it might have been like a smartphone, something in my hand, that something small enough that could hold in my hand, and I was using it to see far away and up close. There's another world outside of this one, and it could be a parallel one. And maybe I'm living two lives somewhere else, a life here and a life in that dimension that I was at. So even though, like, my body is in this place where I am now, but my mind could split like in two, I guess. It was really a weird phenomenon. You're fully conscious, fully aware of your senses in this 3D world, but remotely are able to see other things.